When we talk upon the topic of the role of pedagogy in developing life skills, what exactly do we mean by life skills? So, well, when we are dealing with the learners, most of us are the faculty I see into the number of participants. So, the life skills include the self confidence, trustworthiness, empathy, creativity, communication, assertiveness, and working along with others. So, it is a learning to know at the individual level, learning to do what an individual can do in terms of critical thinking, problem solving, uh, information and technology literacy, and how one can present what one thinks about and critically analyzes. Learning to be in terms of one's individuality in the teams when we are into the society, and then the initiative that we take, self-regulation, self-management, the responsibility that we take of the work that we do. The social and cultural skills that we possess, and then learning to live together, that is the teamwork, the interconnectedness, and the competence of being along and working along with others. So, are we actually teaching our students all these life skills? Or is it only a rat race for completing the syllabi and making them score in the examinations? While when they complete their academics, get a degree, and join the job, that zeal to learn, zeal to apply the learnings, and look forward for the result is something, do they really get practiced in their academic life? Or is it left on the industry to deal with as the most probable gap in the skill to fill it up by themselves as per the requirement? So, as an academician, are we actually designing our way of teaching, our pedagogy in line with developing these life skills? Or is it only the content, the theory, the concept that we are trying to maybe do some little bit of activities, but are they sufficient, or do we need to do some more to develop these life skills? Because when in industry we get the fresh recruits from campus recruitments, or the students, the fresh pass outs with hardly 1 or 2 years of experience, are they actually fitting into all these life skills of learning to know, learning to do, learning to be, and to live together? Well, we find them deficient in many areas. So, when we are talking about enhancing employability, what exactly are the employability skills? As per one study by Coopers and Labrand, the different areas which define employability skills are the key skills of communication, IT, the traditional intellectual skills, that is the critical evaluation, logical argument, the critical analysis that people do, and obviously the knowledge of the organizations and how they work. And then comes to the personal attributes, motivation, self-reliance, the attitude of the person, and the very zeal to go forward. While the other study of Robinson says that employability skills are divided into three categories, that are the basic academic skills, that is reading, writing, and arithmetic, higher order thinking of reasoning, thinking, and creativity, and personal qualities of self control and team spirit. These days, when we recruit freshers or even the experienced people, we have different steps of recruitment where not only the interviews, we have varied number of tests which include mental ability, aptitude, and beside that we have psychometric tests and emotional intelligence tests, so that we can see the cultural fit of the individual with the organization. The coming generations are quite inquisitive, but they are having too much, that energy where they don't themselves know how to channelize them. They know the concept, but they don't know the application side of it. But they are equally impatient and they want quicker results in terms of their own growth. So, how industry can manage all these things when they aren't made to learn? Self motivation. They shouldn't be always a push that do it. They lack in self control. They are very impatient and they just vent it out, or they are too delicate to handle the pressures, the timeline stress, the workload stress, and they leave the jobs and they switch the jobs very quickly, which themselves is spoiling their own resume. But they don't understand that. So these life skills that we talked about, these are the things that only when they are into the schools and colleges and universities that we can make them go through. That's why probably in ancient times, in our school times, moral science was very important. Certain life skill sessions used to be inculcated in us. But these generations is going too much into quick results and the learning of just the theory. So the skill gaps identified by employers these days is in core employability skills, that is reliability, self-motivation, and willingness to learn. We don't know what is going on into the mind of the fresh recruit. Is the kid actually trying to understand what exactly is expected out of them? They don't express. If they express, they are impatient enough because they are reluctant to ask. If they are too blunt sometimes to ask, even then they lack patience to listen completely and understand. So those emotional intelligence and the zeal to learn, to apply, to have patience, that is very important into the academics, along with the content of the technical functional subjects that we take them through. And the gaps in professional skills, the application part, the problem solving, creativity, and use of technology. In academics, we hardly make them practice on those lines. That is the Excel, simple Excel with formulas, how to link different worksheets, the advanced Excel, the infographics for smarter presentation, the MIS softwares. I don't know if any of the universities actually buy those things, have the licenses, and design the curriculum accordingly that they are going to apply what they learn. Yes, many institutes and universities are using case study method, but that is only the analysis part. But is it actually they're analyzing from multifunctional aspect, because all departments are interlinked when they go into the job, and no one aspect can be seen in isolation, that if I am doing an operations management case study, then it's only operations, or I'm doing an HR case study, then it's only HR aspect. It's a mix of all those departments or the functions. So unless and until I know how things are, worked upon on those things, the data in the annexures of the case study, how that data has come out, how we have reached out to those tables and graphs, probably that is the missing link that we don't make them practice to. And then when they come into the job, they struggle into that, because that is the first thing they are asked to do. Data capturing, data collection, then compilation and cohesion of the data to come up with some meaningful information that has to be presented further in a very presentable form, which can show a business impact on qualitative and quantitative terms. Probably those things we aren't still including into our curriculum. So what are employers looking for? So all these skills that we have spoken of so far, that is the workplace skills of the application of technology, the use of technology, the soft skills, the self-motivation, the self-control, emotional intelligence, and the hard skills, that is learning the technology, include all these things like imagination, creativity, adaptability, willingness to learn, ability to work under pressure, self-management or time management, independent working. Again, they have sweaty hands. They are given to do some task, and actually they are blank about it. They are reluctant to ask, and they have a fear that what impression will they give. So that autonomy hardly any fresher wants to take. So they want to be a dependent baby, a crying baby for every step. Working in a team, again, that adaptability factor is quite low, and we need to inculcate in them. Ability to get work from others. Somehow, all departments are interlinked, and yes, departments always do blame game and pass the ball kind of a thing. But then a smart worker, a smart employee, is expected to get things done, intra-department or interdepartmental tasks. If I have to get the assigned task completed, I will build on interpersonal relations. I'll be a smart player to get the task completed within the timelines. So that is what is expected from those students, fresh recruits. Are they made to practice on these lines of working together and getting the things done? Um, Good oral communication, communication in writing. This is something, yes, English somehow is a common language, a business language. The email etiquettes, the sentence structures, the grammar issues, the tone of sentences, could be, even the very junior most employee starts using a very, order kind of a sentence structure to mid-level and the senior level. So that is not the way to get the things done from human beings. It has to be a soft touch, respectful touch, but with firmness and assertiveness. So there's a delicate line between being stern and being firm. So that needs to be made them to practice as to how they can very well communicate and still get the work done, whatever way it is expected within the timelines. Attention to detail. Some freshers are so impatient, they don't want to go into the details, they'll just do the broader type. And even in that broader type, they fail to see the big picture. So that kind of a skill, again, if we can inbuilt in the practice of their 4 semester, 6 semester, 8 semester studies, the courses that they're going through, will actually help them when they are into their jobs. Assumption of responsibility and for making decisions. Again, responsibility is not given, it is taken, it comes from inside. Many a times I see myself struggling with the junior most layer, the fresh recruits, hardly 1 year experience or so, that we give them task and then we have to remember to follow up on the given task instead of they coming back with the update on it, the status on it. So that responsibility and accountability they have to take themselves, and how we make them learn that as a inbuilt character of our personality, as a parameter, which is very important in professional life, and making some decisions which the organization allows at their level, that they are independent to take decision to this level at their layer. So if at all not the final decision, at least they can give their boss certain options as solutions or a probable decision, so that every boss is looking for a fresh mind, for more ideas to incorporate which are applicable in the given situation or the problem situation. Then planning, coordinating, and organizing ability. Again, yes, many students do participate in tech fests, management fests, and practice on these lines, but still they need a little more brush up, because there are certain introverts and laid back students who, when go into their jobs, again, it's only the smart 1 or 2%, or maybe 4-5% of them who come forward. The rest again have to be pulled or pushed. So, can we come out of this pull and push strategy and the struggle and make them take initiatives by themselves? So, now the problem is how to translate and integrate such skills in the curriculum. Hence, the need is to foster learners' capability in three areas, which the faculty, like all esteemed of you, can work on. That is, work on the reasoning part, the analytical, critical thinking, the problem solving skills, give them more tasks. I won't say assignments, because assignments in academics has been taken as a misnomer of the theoretical submission of assignments, which could be a book copy paste or internet download, where yes, plagiarism is taken care of by changing the words, but it's just the words. So coming out of that, actually doing work on the dummy or real data for this reasoning skill to be developed. Then resilience, which is really lacking. So the life skills such as flexibility, adaptability, and self-reliance is to be built in. This is the need of the hour in this current era. The responsibility, as already discussed, the wisdom or the application of intelligence, creativity, and knowledge of a common good, a common goal. That yes, there's a purpose for which I have been given a task and I contribute to the larger purpose. And I am responsible for the miniature task assigned to me as my contribution to the bigger picture. So, these three areas, if we take into consideration, the industry feel quite light when we get such recruits which are good on these capabilities. They have these competencies to start their job with. So the focus of education thus turns away from teaching a body of content to making students work in groups to explore and understand concepts. So don't just make them just download the content as a syllabi thing, but make them practice on these things. How is again lot of challenging brain tasks that the faculty and the curriculum designer need to do, as to what activities, what assignments or projects we can assign individual and the group projects or assignments where they can actually use these skills. They can brush up or learn these skills, forget about using in the first go. But at the same time, don't give them the project, okay, go to the industry, get a questionnaire filled. That is probably in the first year of their education, they can explore that side. That exposure of going, trying to collect information where no one is ready to share the information is also important as an experience. But, making them actually do what the industry does at data collection, data assimilation, data analysis and interpretation, and then presentation to the senior levels. That is what is expected. So how does one teach students the skills that they need for employability? So there could be different methods, some of which you are already using. But if before that, if we see that what exactly is pedagogy, it is the content that is presented or delivered, but it also connects with assets that are needed to present the content. That is the ways, the tools that we use. Now put together these assets to create cognitive psychology, the experiential learning that they do and they learn, not just the concept and the theory part of it. And then evaluation of the learning process, that what have they come out of the whole learning? So have they achieved their learning goal? If I was trying to make them learn critical thinking, so what has been the result of it? Is it industry applicable, or is it still at the very immature level where the faculty needs to help them to come up to that level? And then preparing the content accordingly. So again, it's a cycle of the content, the tools, and the way we see the results of the application of learning. So is it industry viable result, or still we need to build upon? There's a framework which I came across, that is US EEM Framework, which has four interlocking constructs. If we use that in pedagogy for all the curriculum that we have, probably that will help a lot. USEM stands for understanding, skillful practices in context, efficacy beliefs, and metacognition. So, understanding of the disciplinary, the functional material, and then how actually the world works with it. If I say about HR, if I'm teaching HR, so HR as a complete subject and its sub functions like human resource planning, recruitment, selection, and all that. So, what is actually done in industry in all these sub functions? How different tools, different softwares, Excel sheets, how that data is collected, how it is captured, how employee related any information or data flows to the HR, and what does HR do with it, and what comes out of it. So that understanding by the faculty or the curriculum designer. Then the skillful practices, that is how that disciplinary and generic things are practiced, how they are interlocked, how those skills are built. And then the efficacy beliefs. The efficacy means how, is it able to give the results it is intended to be? What is the effectiveness of it? So, what qualities and attributes do my A, B, C, D, all the students possess? If they are one of the functional employee, what are they contributing to the function? How they are working on those, functional material and the skills that you are trying to develop in them. And then the metacognition, that is the capacity for reflection and self-regulation, that, okay, this is what I have done and this is I'm good at a skill level. So where do I take myself next level to? So that reflection at every step. So as a faculty, if I use this, I can show you a chart that if you use this matrix where each of the curriculum component, you see that are you using USEM at each part of each module of the curriculum component, then you can make out that, yeah, it is a wholesome package. It is not just the theory or the concept. And probably now my students are at that skill level where I can say that they are employable, that the industry would pick them easily and would come back the next year because of that quality of recruitment that they have enjoyed for the 1 year experience with those fresh recruits. Well, many of you might be using some of these approaches, but these are something that I have listed out as the teaching approaches that will stimulate good learning, which will help the students become employable. So starting off with the analyzing case study material and annotating bibliography rather than writing yet another essay. Don't make them write essays in assignments. Don't make them write theoretical, conceptual assignments. They are of no use. Writing critical commentaries or reviews. Some faculty does give book review, but then they should also allow some time to read the books for that, apart from the curriculum books. Again, summarizing complex material into a simple briefing paper or an executive summary. This is yet another practice which we used to do in our school times, the Pressy writing. But in over the time in our professional courses, we forget doing that. And in industry, that is what is required. That come to the point, extract only what is the useful information. Don't go haywire and write long emails or project reports which don't give much of the meaningful information that is the actual takeaway, the practical side of it. So make them summarize, make them write executive summaries of different events or the fests that you do at your college level, the competitions that you do. So the students should be made to write the summary report as a kind of a broadcast that you have to do about a particular festival that you have celebrated, or a fest that you have done, or a cultural or literary activity that you have organized. So how they present with the pictures and what write-ups, what summary they give is what they will make them practice on this skill. In-tray exercises, perhaps under time constraint, because that is what is the way of working in industry. Constructing criteria against what a performance might be in which against which a performance might be judged, like how to evaluate the performance. If I have to see give a 360 feedback as a fresher or any of my senior or a colleague, then how do I assess my team member? Could be my colleague, because I have no junior, I am a fresher. And for my senior, what is the right way to assess the capability, to avoid the subjectivity of my own experience with that person, but to objectively see that what are the different competencies the other person possesses, which the other person is using over other people, if not on me. So am I that good observant, and hence a recorder of those observations? And how do I present and assess those observations? So that is yet another thing that we want the faculty to help us inculcate as a skill in the students, our future employees for the industry. Role playing, yes, many of us must be doing. Presenting a case and being prepared to justify it is another practice that we can make them do. Group problem solving, including attention to the group dynamics of the teamwork. These days, the freshers are much comfortable in working in silos. So how to make them practice of working in teams, that group working, the team working, and the collective problem solving, the interdisciplinary, the cross-cultural and the cross-disciplinary problem solving committees that we can form. Then snowballing activities, which might begin with pair-based work, with the groups progressively combining to produce a larger group response to the challenge set. So make them work in pairs, and then triads, and then quadrants, and then they become a larger group. And how the same exercise of one problem situation or a topic given to them, how more alternatives keep adding on, and how that analysis is taking a different shape, and then the final product that comes out of the larger group is the way the organizations work. So make them practice at the college level itself. And the green highlighted last sentence is the much required technical skill that we want them to be prepared already in their academics. That is practice on dummy or real data, using Excel formats for data or MIS capturing, followed by data analysis, and then how to present to HODs as a mock monthly review meeting. So please make them do that. And of course, the personal development program, very important. Apart from the academic, the functional content that we are making them learn upon, the overall development for the development of the life skills is very important. That is how they can, going beyond the formal or taught curriculum to becoming a confident, self-directed learner, where they understand how they are learning, what they are learning, and they can relate their learning to a wider context. They improve their general skills for study and career management, and articulate their goals and evaluate progress, so that they know what they are doing, how they are doing, what is it leading to. Is this actually the career I want to opt for? So how do I plan for it, and how I plan my steps towards reaching those goals for self? How do I align my personal individual goals with the organization goals where I want to go into? So, and the attitude, the resilience, and the management of their own emotions, the patience, All that is very important. So it starts with self-awareness. Do we, as a faculty in the curriculum, have any portions where we actually make them understand themselves? Because in industry, then we have to do the training programs to all these employees as to please try to understand yourself, what you are, what you want to be, where you want to lead yourself to, because that confusion and the conflict of my own career goal, my own career path, which I am not clear of, and hence I don't know what I'm doing and what I actually want to do. That misalignment does affect the efficiency and effectiveness of the work that they do. And hence the increased training costs in the industry, which we look forward to reduce it. And hence we want to partner with the faculty so that students, the fresh recruits, the future employees for us are much prepared. I won't say 100% make them quick to just start doing what we want them to do, but at least 50, 60, 70% prepare them for that. So now when we come to the functional level, before I start off with the functionality part, any point that is not clear so far?
Ma'am, we may proceed. We'll have doubts or the Q&A at the end of the session.
Well, yes, I'll be sharing the presentation, which will be shared with you. I don't know, it depends on the organizers. But you will be given a link of this recording. Any questions so far?
Ma'am, we will have the Q&A session at the end of the session. For now, we'll continue with the
Okay,
presentation.
sure. So I'll continue. So at the functional level, what needs to be taught and practiced that I was talking about? Because I belong to HR function, so I can take you through the details of it. So when we are teaching them sub-functions of HR, when we talk about recruitment, please go beyond teaching them different types of recruitments, internal, external, different channels of recruitments. Yes, make them go through that theory, but make them actually do what is done in recruitment. That is how to draft a job description. So, for example, there is the position of system analyst in an IT company, or a junior, an accountant in any of the company, or an executive level person in any of the functions. So, suppose an executive commercial, an executive supply chain, so for this position, what would be the job description and job specification? Make them design it, draft it, and then make them practice from junior positions to the mid-level to the senior positions. Even they can learn to design a job description and job specification of the CEO. So actually how to make it, because then going forward, now there are not only HR journalist roles, there are some companies only ask for the recruiter. So or if a person has that interest into going into only recruitment line, would need to actually do these things, and then they are totally blank. What to do, how to make it, I don't know how to make it. So make them practice these things, the practical aspect of the topics that we make them learn. Design job advertisement. So if you have to post an advertisement on LinkedIn or Naukri.com or any of the job portals or even an IJP, internal job posting, so how do we design it? What do we write in it? Make a job description. What are the components? In which sequence they should occur? What information is to be disclosed and what not into an ad, into a job description, into a job specification? And then learn to use job portals as an employer. So if I am an employer, now I'm into the job and I have to search candidates for a certain position or a vacancy that has come from a department. What do I do? How do I go to the job portals? How do I log in? How do I post an ad? Then the applications would come. How do I, shortlist from those applications and generate a pool of applicants for that particular job ad so that I can arrange for further steps of the recruitment and selection. So that practice needs to be done. Then for the selection, again, selection has many steps. What all would be the selection process? Different types of processes. Some organizations may go for 2-3 steps, another may go for 7-8 steps. So make them practice on different steps or of the process, where how many rounds of tests and interviews would be done. Then if there would be tests, design those tests with the score sheets, the assessment sheets. If there would be interviews, the interview evaluation forms with again the score sheets or the assessment sheets. Any of the test inventories, the tests that have to be built, how those tests are to be done. So if it is only the aptitude, mental aptitude or numerical efficiency that we are judging, then I just can't pick up any random numerical questions from the internet. It should fit into the job profile for which the person requires the skill. So accordingly, a suitable question has to be chosen from wherever sources I am selecting from. And if it is a psychometric or an EQ test that I have to do, again, a validated test to be chosen, but which competencies I want to assess, which competencies are matching that job profile for which I'm looking for a person to fill that position. So again, that is something, a lot of critical thinking is required, a lot of alignment that my focus should not divert. It shouldn't be that one test made and for an executive or a manager level or a casual contractor labor, I'm using the same test. No, it can't be. So the difficulty level, the competency level, that has to be matching the job profile. So make them do practice on it. Then learn how to do referral checks. So yes, many organizations do outsource this part, but there are still smaller organizations which make the HR people, the junior most people do it, but then they are too immature. They straight away ask, okay, so and so person has applied in our organization and was earlier known to you. Do you find this person fit enough to so that we can select this person? They just ask the straight questions. Those straight questions are to be avoided. It has to be a very skillful way of extracting information from a person, because the referral names and the contact information has been given by the prospective employee. So they have given the name of a person who would talk good about them. So how to extract more information from that person where some valuable information may come out for us, not just the goody stuff from the straight questions. So they need to have those skill of probing through quality questions. So the art of questioning, or we say questioning skills, open-ended questions. Then make them draft the offer letter, and also the difference in the components and the scope of the offer letter and the appointment letter. What comes into an offer letter, what comes into an appointment letter. Appointment letter again would differ for an on-roll employee. For the different levels, the mid, junior, mid, and senior levels, it will have a little bit difference in few clauses. And for the fixed term contractual or retainership employees, it will have a different contract altogether. It won't be called appointment letter. So, how these are, what are the differences and how these are framed and drafted? Make them practice on these practical aspects. Then we say the next sub-function is the joining and the induction. So once the recruitment and selection is done, how those joining formalities are done, what is included in it, different joining formalities, getting some forms filled, the statutory documentation done, the personal file made, the medical examination done, the basic, necessities of a new joinee that is to be taken care of. So, what are all different things that come into the joining formalities? And mostly, this task is given to the freshers or the lesser experienced junior profiles that get the joinings done. So, they should be knowing it, at least have a knowledge of it and a bit of practice on it. Knowledge of different statutory forms and how to fill them and file them for compliances. So any new person joins in, they need to fill up a PF form, a ESI form, a gratuity form. So which are those forms that they need to fill? They need to guide the employee how to fill the form, because unless and until they themselves know how to fill those forms, because there are n number of forms under each statutory act. So is it form A, B, or C? Which is it? Form 10 is for what? Form 12 is for what? So they should be knowing it. Again, similarly, when an employee comes for the claim under any of the act, and an ESI covered employee needs reimbursement or the ESI claim on the medical facilities or any other issue of the family member or themselves, which is the form that they need to fill, which all documents need to be attached, how it is to be submitted online or manually in the respective labor departments or PF or ESI departments. So make them practice on these. Not just, yes, every student working or studying the labor laws or industrial relations need to understand the fundamentals of the laws and the acts, the bare acts. They need to be very well familiar of. Along with it, the amendments that are going on, the latest notifications that are coming from the government, the state government, the central government. Make them how to read those, how to interpret those, and what are different implications, what they mean for an HR person, for a marketing person, for a contractor. So how actually that is used in industry, this labor law and IR and all that stuff, how statutory things are used. Then make them design the induction program. It could be a half-day induction program to an elaborative 2-day, 1-week induction program, varies from organization to organization. Make them make the broader, we say, macro design of a program and the micro design of a program. So macro would mean, okay, what would be the program objective? What would be the different broad topics that will be covered, the different sessions or the modules? Who will take those modules and of how much duration per module? It may vary module to module. And then in micro design, it will include every detail, minute by minute, the content and the activity. Could be a presentation, a video, a game, or an activity under each module. So what exactly is a detailed design? Along with it, the pre and post evaluation tests. So that obviously we require for every audit, that anyone who is given a training, even the induction training, the pre-test and the post-test of the after attending the training. So what has the person gained some knowledge? Is there an improvement in the score? So that is the requirement. So make them design those tests and apply those tests. We can do the same thing with our students. Coming on to the next HR function, sub-function under the HR function, how to do training requirement analysis under training and development. So, which means the training need identification. Some data is to be picked from PMS, or how to approach HODs that please tell for every employee individually what this person is lacking as a skill or as a deficiency in terms of the improvement areas, which we can build as a content of our training program, so that we can make the person practice and develop it as a skill, so that post training you can see a difference in the person's way of working or behaving. So may give them a list of topics and the programs as to, because normally generally what we see is people just throw the topic, give training on communication, give training on leadership. So, but communication is a vast subject, leadership is a vast subject. Which aspect of it is a person lacking? If I am in a front end profile, I need to be more expressive. If I'm in a back end profile, I need to be more better in my listening skills and writing skills. Need not be much in speaking skills. So again, it varies. So make them learn to make the training objective per training topic, and then come up with a program design, which is a macro design and a micro design, and should be more of a non-lecture method. That is more of experiential learning, activity based. Make the people do and learn out of it. And the briefing of the training will capture the key concept of the topic. Design training program evaluation. How would you actually evaluate the business impact of the training program, the qualitative and the quantitative? Make them use the Kirkpatrick model of training evaluation, all the 4 steps. And coming to the statutory compliance, we've already discussed different forms and different amendments, implications of labor laws, which all statutory challans, monthly, fortnightly, quarterly, yearly forms they need to fill, and how to fill, and if they make any error, how to correct it. So make them practice over the forms and the actually application of the statutory things that an employee in the HR function has to do. Then coming on the compensation and benefits, yes, we tell that, okay, these are the fixed and variable salary components, but make them design a CTC. How to calculate? If I say I have a position of a particular level, an executive level, and I say it has to have not more than 3 lakh package CTC. So for a 3 lakh, what would be the bifurcation of different salary components? What will be the basic? What will be the HRA, CA? The CA is the conveyance allowance. Then how PF, ESI will be calculated, how TDS will be calculated upon it. Though mostly these are taken care of by accounts departments in many organizations, some organizations make HR do salary calculation. So make them practice on that. Legal aspects, again, audits. Every organization goes through different audits and labor inspections. Make them do mock practice over how to get a clear green audit report or an inspection report. Different licenses, documentation, approvals, contract agreements, what are these, how they are made, how they are renewed, and that documentation done for every yearly audit or a quarterly or 6-monthly audit. Attendance and leave management of staff, particularly casual contractual labor, because that is what is first inspected by labor inspectors. Mock rehearsals of the audits, how to represent the organization in court hearings for any labor cases, conducting and organizing mandatory or statutory committee activities, trainings and records, that a POSH committee, an internal complaint committee, how it is done, the trainings, mandatory trainings, the POSH training, fire and safety, waste management, what all documentation it is required as a legal compliance for any factory they work in. For employee engagement, creatively design different engagement activities which have a purpose, not just the fun factor of it, but something which keeps employee looking forward to come to the organization, that yes, I want to go to office because it's a fun place to work at, where I enjoy doing my work. It is not just a boring, mundane routine every day. Similarly, for performance management system, how to do competency mapping, if we talk about different performance appraisal methods, make them practice on how to do it, how to make it. If it is 360-degree appraisal we are teaching them, then how to design a questionnaire. How do we design and draft a competency or a behavior indicator? How do we evaluate it, assess it? And when we get the data, how do we do the analysis of that data, and then we make a bell curve or a normalization of it? So what exactly do we do? Or a balanced scorecard, how it is used, how it is made, how the data is captured. Make them practice on that. So succession planning again, how to do a potential appraisal. It is through observations, it is through HOD feedback, the trend analysis, the assessment centers, the job enlargements, but then not just the theory part of it. Tell them as to how to do it. If you are an HR person in the department and you are given to do make a succession plan of different departments, how would you go about? What would be your approach? So make them do across the university or the college data, because even college, school, university have different departments to work in. There are employees. Give them that dummy data. You can change the names. You can just give them the figures. They don't know whose figures are these, but make them play around with those data and learn out of it. And make them plan for 3 options of succession per position. So if HR manager position needs to have a succession plan, and that if HR this current A HR manager leaves, then who B will take the place. If B leaves, then who C will take the place. So that ways to the up to the 3 levels. Now, I have done enough of talking. I am going to show you certain examples that I was actually talking about the real practice of the data. So, when we were talking about psychometric tests, make them draft these questionnaires, and then from those data of filled questionnaires, how to come up with the graphs or the meaning of the data. Similarly, 360-degree feedback report, how to make a report out of the data that you have collected after getting the 360 feedbacks from all the resources. PMS sheets, how different KRAs are made from job descriptions and how their targets are assigned, and then the performance appraisal is, the progress is monitored. If it is yellow, red, or green, the sequence is not right, it's red, yellow, or green. Then the MS Excel, Advanced Excel, different formulas and interlinkage of worksheets, the pivot tables, the VLOOKUPs. If they go into the commercial or purchase department, how to have the indent orders made, the commercial or supply chain, how they work, how that data is captured, different formats, Excels, calculations, analysis. If they are into accounts, how to make a ledger, how to get a cash voucher filled and captured, the TDS calculation. So make them use the softwares or the Excels at least. How to make the MIS reports, something which is presentable, meaningful information from the data. How to create the master sheets, the leave management or the salary slip, the components of salaries, or different MIS softwares, be it HR or finance and accounts, whichever. Even the engineers need to, or the quality departments need to do a lot of data capturing and analysis. Use of infographics to make your presentations smarter. One page of infographics can show you much more nice data instead of a very theoretical or a boring way of one Excel graph. So I end up with this question. Are you, as faculty, prepared self to prepare the students for employability? That is, as a faculty, do you possess all these knowledge and skills to be further imparted to the students so that they are employable for the industry? If not, what can you do? Partner with the industry, do certain industry assignments, partner with the industry people for the consultancy where you learn how to actually practically use all these formats and do practice so that you can make the students learn further. So I leave you with this thought